who abandoned their core audience and paid the price for it. Little website called Dig did a major site refresh to increase site revenue without considering the impact and lost their entire user base to Reddit essentially overnight. That's how I moved to Reddit. I moved from FARK, which seemed to be dying, and on the advice that Reddit threads were like FARK comment threads, but more intelligent and mature. About 12 to 13 years later, Reddit is now 50% a daycare center for difficult children, while FARK is somehow still around and completely unchanged. Reddit was like that at first. Comments were less, but conversation was better. Then the joke accounts and power users came. I just learned from a TikTok that Applebee's tried to become a club at night to attract younger customers, but no one wanted to go hang out at Applebee's, and all the old people who used to go Applebee's didn't like that it turned into a club at night, so they stopped going, and now no one likes Applebee's. Ha! My wife and I stopped by for a late dinner and it was Applebee's after dark or something. We thought it was quite odd, didn't realize it was all of them doing that. Sounds like a swingers club for the core Applebee's demographic. The core Applebee's demographic is when you're too lazy to microwave it yourself. OnlyFans briefly banning sexually explicit material on their service. That's, like, your entire business model. How the hell did they think this was ever going to work? I believe they were under pressure from their payment services, but it ended up getting sorted out. It wasn't just a silly business decision. This was it. Visa and MasterCard didn't like the idea of their services being used for pornography because they said OnlyFans had underage users on it. Then they decided against it, probably after looking how much money they make from it. Sci-Fi Channel. At some point there was no sci-fi on it. Used to love Sci-Fi Channel. I feel like the content went downhill right around the time they changed their name to Sci-Fi, which is also when I stopped watching. When Sci-Fi rebranded to Sci-Fi, I changed the pronunciation at my house. I pronounce Sci-Fi as Sif-E. MTV. Loved watching music videos and the occasional news, behind the music, etc., but their main focus was music videos. Then, for some insane reason, they ditched their tried and true format and became a reality show nightmare. They lost it all. I don't even know if MTV is still around. It's literally just ridiculousness and catfish back and forth on repeat nowadays. Be fair. Between the 14 hours of catfish and the 4 hours of ridiculousness today, they are also playing 1 hour of something called the Love Experiment. Tumblr. What's the deal with this anyway? Wasn't the flight from Tumblr mostly due to them banning NSFW material? I heard that they allow it now because it backfired so spectacularly, lol. The TLDR is that Apple was going to remove Tumblr from the App Store if they didn't get rid of the porn. They now allow nudity, but not sexually explicit content. The site is still kicking as a shitposting hole, though. Porn was only one site of many to behold, so nothing important actually changed. Yak, it was a way to have conversations with people in the area anonymously, really popular on college campuses. They made an update to create user profiles and pretty much everyone just stopped using it because anonymity was the whole point. Yak's rise and fall coincided perfectly with my first year of university. It was brilliant. The real genius move was making it location-specific. Every campus ended up with their own running jokes and local celebrities. I went to Sheffield and we had a chap known as the Morgazoid who shot to fame through his friends chronicling his attempt to write his entire dissertation in a single day. Happy times. I was never entirely sure of the rationale behind forcing people into having usernames. There was speculation it was to avoid legal trouble surrounding bullying, but I don't know whether that was ever substantiated. Whatever happened, they killed the golden goose. I was also in my first year at university at that time. Yak was used to make several mass violence threats on campus. Wouldn't be surprised if that had something to do with making profiles. Boeing. Built by engineers, corrupted by Wall Street. Moved their HQ away from Seattle's to Chicago just to get away from listening to engineers, now to Virginia just by DC to continue their hyper-focus on Washington lobbying. Try licking balls of short-term investors and politicians instead of focusing on innovation and safety. Killed hundreds of people in 2 crashes and lost advantage in all industries, civil aviation, aerospace, and defense. It's a real case study on how a once well-run company can lose its way. Very sad indeed. For me, Boeing was one of the symbols of the American pride. PhotoBucket. Back when forums were still a thing, PhotoBucket would host your images for free. Then one day they decided everyone would have to pay monthly, no free tier, nothing. We all collectively agreed we would not be paying, and that was that. I feel like it may have contributed to the death of forums. Ruined a few of my car build threads, that's for sure. To this day they still send me emails a couple times a year threatening to delete all my photos if I don't come back. Forums are absolutely littered with photo bucket and tiny pic placeholders for shit we can't see anymore. Makes me wonder what will happen to places on Reddit if Imager ever goes the same way. Imager did do this, removed a bunch of NSFW images as well as any that were uploaded without an account. Go to any NSFW sub, sort by best over past year, and see how many of the links are working. Blizzard Entertainment. Yeah, that was great. The downfall really was announcement of Diablo on mobile devices and telling their followers they are going to a P2W model. Then despite the overwhelming backlash, they kept it going and proceeded to fuck up all their other franchises. Don't you guys have phones? That was one of the stupidest corporate disconnect moments I think I've ever seen. Game of Thrones. They shit the bed so hard in the last season that no one thinks of it fondly. You hear of people rewatching epic shows over and over again. I don't know a single person who has gone back to GOT. I tried to watch the first season again but I was still too mad and heard about the ending. It was so insane how much that was a part of culture for close to a decade and how there was videos, posts, and merchandise everywhere. They're just like that, it is gone. Even one season of Firefly will still get more discussion and remembrance now than GOT will at this point. It was truly water cooler talk. My job at the time, people would discuss it over cubicles and even in work emails. Unity Software. Eagerly seeing how things will ultimately unfold for them and how long it'll take to get there. Devs like stability and predictability. Unity pulling shit like this makes their core audience lose faith in them and so will likely keep bleeding to other engines. If they can make a full recovery from their recent behavior, I'll be shocked. Quora. There were excellent groups with intelligent discussions. Then it became monetized and people submitted hundreds of questions a day. What time does the Walmart close in Boise? My 16-year-old came home with an A, so I took away their phone for 6 months. Not just that, they made it really difficult to navigate the website. Now you go on to look at an answer to a specific question, you might see one answer that isn't super helpful, then it'll show you an entirely different question with a few answers with no different formatting. And then eventually you scroll down to find more answers to the question you were looking for, except for a long time I'd assumed there were no more answers and just clicked off the site. Absolutely stupid system. Crack.com, there were a couple years there where they transformed from a second-rate mad knockoff to some of the smartest, funniest stuff on the internet. Then the people who held the purse strings decided listicles and Photoshop contests were more profitable than a writing staff. Daniel O'Brien went on and writes for John Oliver now. Cody Johnston and Katie Stoll are doing the Some More News channel, which is still going strong. Soren Bowie, I think, writes for American Dad. A few of the other guys started different patterns for stuff. Robert Evans does Behind the Bastards. The Witcher series, or any beloved franchise where directors and writers think they can do better than the source material. Note to writers and directors out there, if you're adapting something to the big screen that people absolutely love, understand that in their eyes you absolutely cannot do better than the source material. Don't have to go 1:1 with the source material, but man, it's so crazy that people will rubber stamp the deviation from the original IP so often. If it has a huge following, stick to the fucking source and you'll be able to milk a cash cow for years. Deviating is such a huge risk and I can't think of any series or movie that has done this and pulled it off/survived, so it's just weird that directors and writers continue to think they are gonna be the one to pull it off. It makes me sad that I'm hoping in 15 to 20 years, when everyone has forgotten about the current show, I hope it gets rebooted and done right. I've tried to love the current show, but it's only okay at best. I also think Henry Cavill made a great Geralt. Shame to waste his talents.